We're rolling?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're rolling. So, Dr. Bilo.
Dr. Knaak, Van Nelle. Obviously, what do we do today? And actually, we already have a guest on board.
Yes, we have a guest. This is Nelle Factory, 1920s, 30s industry icon in the Netherlands, and it's refurbished. And we're going to see Dr. Klein, Professor Dr. Klein, Tillmann Klein, who's a facade expert and professor for building product innovation at TU Delft. He's sitting there, and he's going to talk about the facade.
And I've also tried to contact Wes Lyon. He's the architect of the renovation of that building, and I hope he's going to be there.
Cool. Well,
perfect. Thanks.
Then let's go.
Let's have a look. What a building.
So. Yeah. Tillmann, how to develop a complex facade? What's the first idea? How do you identify the technology? How do you translate this selected technology into a design? And what are the do's and don'ts of such a process?
Okay, I'm not sure if I can answer all these questions, but let's give it a take. Well, the specialty of this building is it was a tobacco factory, coffee and tobacco and tea, built in 27 to 1930. And at the time, it already was an icon of modernism. That was a new way of manufacturing, the new way of factories. And that image holds stand until today. So it's still an icon. It reminds us about the big leaps in modernization and technology, and transform that building to a new function, which is events and offices today. That is, of course, a huge challenge. And at the same time, you want to preserve, its architecture design. You want to make sure that you transfer that iconic value into the future, and you have to give it a new life in terms of the comfort of it, its new functionality, but also in terms of energy saving, to build a responsible building that can live on for the next century.
Okay, thanks. Let's talk about the technology. It's a refurbishment project, as you said. How do you select this facade type? What type of facade is it? What's the right system for such a building? And what are the right materials for this kind of building?
The idea was really to preserve the facade in its original state. That means you cannot just exchange the glass panes because they're going to look different in terms of the reflection. A new pane has a coating, reflections. So the idea was to keep the original glazing, to keep the original profiles. You can see the texture of this material. It's painted and that type of looks. And so basically it doesn't mean you cannot really touch it or upgrade it in terms of energy performance. And that decision was made to build a second facade on the inside of it. So basically create a double facade. Also, it is a certain form of a double facade with a cavity that acts as a thermal buffer. And on the inside, you actually include the thermal separation between the cold exterior part and the offices. And that space is used here just for ventilation, or on the upper floors you can see it's even the walkway, the corridor leading to the offices.
Okay. And for you as a, say, facade specialist, how would you find a manufacturer? How would you find someone being able to deal with this existing facade and the new facade? Quite different types of constructions. And in the end, does it technically work? Does it work by performance?
Well, you have to find builders with a special expertise. Let's say, I think in this time, the renovation of the exterior facade is the way bigger problem, whereas on the inside you can work with someone who deals with normal facades, even because they're not in the rain and wind anymore. I think you have a broad range of companies that do it. And what was the second question?
Does it work in the end as system qua performance, qua functionality?
I believe it does. When you talk to people that live in this, I think the comfort is much improved. I think energetically there is a big improvement. I'm not sure if anyone really measures the energetic performance of the building, but you have to live with compromises. And you cannot bring this type of building unless you really want to change the whole architecture of that building. You cannot bring it up to modern standards. So in that way, it's always a trade-off, between the functionality of the building, so there's its value, its design, its historical meaning, basically. And I think in that sense, it works very well.
Perfect. Test, start, action. So Tillmann, let's look at this huge cavity of this double facade. And it's clearly to see that, say, the outer facade is the original, and the inner facade is it's an aluminium system with insulated glass units.
Yes, exactly. And I just see Wessel de Jong is here. He's the architect of the building.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Maybe Wessel, you can just explain it better.
Hi guys.
Hey Wessel, hey, good to see you, and
yes.
It's super cool that you're here. And hey, thanks for opening this building for us.
It's a piece of cake. I have my office here.
Why did you do this type of facade? Why this facade?
Yeah, when we started for Van Nelle, it was obvious that the building was to be nominated for UNESCO World Heritage. So one of the key issues was to preserve the facade as it was, single glazed and so on. So we decided to make a sort of a cavity. And actually the aluminium facade that you see inside, that's the actual facade. The left one, which is original, that's only a raincoat. So it keeps out most of the wind and the rain. But the secondary glazing is actually what does the work. Acoustics and all that.
So by that it's actually a double facade in that respect, which was not the purpose to design a double facade, but the purpose to design a World Heritage building, which then needs to be, say, energy-wise, improved.
Yes. The challenge here was, yes, UNESCO World Heritage, but it's also an economical asset. So, it has to be rentable space. So you cannot preserve it like a museum. You have to make something that works. The central part, which is now the rental units, that needs to have climate control and everything under present conditions, under present, or let's say 20 years ago, the requirements and so on. So this was the solution that we came up with. In the winter, it's very energy efficient because the air is preheated by the sun. Before it is entering the workspaces through the inlets that you see over there. So we have the sunshade in the original position between the columns. So we took the original as a sort of inspiration and translated that into something of nowadays.
Yeah, you have to make trade-offs to preserve the value of this great building. And I really love the building, must say. But from your point of view as a user, the architect, but also the user, does it work in terms of climate design and energy performance? Does it fulfill its purpose?
It's difficult the windows are not operable. So that is sometimes a difficulty, that some of the tenants have a problem to organize the climate conditions inside their unit. In terms of energy consumption, of course, you have to understand that the whole idea was developed in 1999. And nowadays, of course, we could have done things in a different way. For instance, heat and cold storage in the groundwater would have been an option. At that time, it was difficult to organize that. So we didn't, but that is things that you could think of for the future.
But probably the basic concept is still the good one that you choose at the time.
Yes, I do agree, but I'm always critical about our own work. There's a whole team behind me, of course. It's not only me who did all the work, but I'm always critical because we have to learn for the future. And this is a kind of benchmark reconversion project worldwide. So it's also good to monitor it and to see how it works nowadays. And maybe next time we can do it even better, or even maybe improve this building. Maybe the new owner is going to make decisions.
Yeah, but in total, it's always a compromise. You always have to make a compromise. You need to preserve the existing building.
Sure.
You need to, as you said, also take the financial values, the asset, which has to be,
of course.
Has to be taken.
That's part of your work as a designer. It's not only aesthetics. It's not only history. You have to, match all the different sorts of input and values. What is, of course, important about this strategy is that it, in terms of rentable space, you lose quite a lot of square meters. So on the other side, which is the shadow side, this is the sunny side, the other side is the shadow side, we made double use of this zone as a corridor, which we needed anyway. So the loss of floor space is reduced a little bit by using it as a corridor. So we don't have a central corridor with the units next to the facades, but we have a one-sided corridor along one of the facades and then the units towards the other facade.
So you have, say, different climate situation in this corridor in summer and winter. In winter it's a bit colder, but not as outside. In summer it's maybe a bit warmer, but not as you expected in the office.
Yes, actually the corridor that you walk in is a cavity. So in the winter it's a bit cool. In the summer it's not hot because you can open the windows over there and open your door so you get some fresh air. And in the winter we prefer to draw the air from this side because it's preheated by the sun.
Interesting wise, they're now discussing that, say, constant climate is not good for your health. So they'd like to have different climate situation always and offer different research for the next projects. We stop here. Hey, thank you both for showing this and showing the experience and that we are able to exit. Yeah. That's it. Okay, let's go.
That's it.
Yeah.